Alright, so the next thing we're going to be working on is color pencil techniques. So I'm going to grab a different paper and I am using a ruler just to help me write straight. And I am going to start writing down the title, which is going to be color pencil techniques. The first technique we're going to look at is different pressure. So I am just going to start writing that down. And then we're going to grab whatever color pencil we want and we're going to start doing a very light pressure in the first spot. Then we are going to do a very medium pressure in the second spot. So we are going to apply a little bit more. And on the third one, we are going to apply a lot of pressure. We are going to then grab a pen and write right below each of them light, medium, and heavy pressure. Right below it, we are going to use the same pencil to kind of create a gradient. So we are going to start with very light pressure and just push harder and harder as we keep going. The next technique we're going to explore is going to be hatching. So we are going to start by writing down the title. We are going to then grab our color pencil and we are going to start creating single lines in the same direction. We're going to start with the lines spread more apart and then we're going to get them closer and closer as we keep going. Right below it, we are going to add our description, which is going to be single direction mark. Closer together equals darker the value. The next technique we're going to explore is going to be the stippling. So we are going to start by writing down the title. So stippling is going to be marks made with the tip of the pencil. The closer and the more dots there are is going to be darker the value. So we're going to write that down. And stippling is going to be dotting. So we are going to then grab a pencil and start it. In the first part, we are going to create dots that are farther apart and not as many dots. In the second part, we are going to create a little bit more dots and closer together. As you can see, the second part is going to be looking a little bit darker than the first one. And then we are going to create the third one, which is where we are going to make a lot of dots all closer together. And this one is going to be darker than the other two. So right below it, we are going to write down light, medium, and dark. The next technique we're going to explore is going to be the cross-hatching. So we are going to start by writing down the title, and you can write down titles however you want. And the cross-hatching is going to be very similar to the hatching, but it's going to be a multi-direction mark. The tighter the crisscross is going to be, the darker the value will be. So we are going to grab our pencil and we are going to start by creating kind of like a scale value like we did for the hatching. So we're going to start with lines that are more spread apart and then closer together. And then we are going to go back in and add lines in the opposite direction to create that crisscross pattern. So we are going to spread the lines more when we want the value to be lighter. So for both the cross-hatching and the stippling, you can use multiple colors. So we are going to write it down and then we will start with the cross-hatching. So I will start again by creating my cross-hatching scale. So I will start with my lines spread more apart, getting closer and closer together, and then I will crisscross them. I will then grab the blue, which is the complementary color of the orange, and I will basically go over it just to darken it and play around with colors. I will then start with the stippling. So I started by creating a red medium value stippling scale, and then I started grabbing my green pencil, which is going to be our complementary color for the red. And I started to create more dots towards the top to create more of a darker value. And then as I go down, I started spreading the dots and making less and less to create kind of a value scale from dark to light. Another thing you can create with the cross-hatching is curved lines. So we are going to grab our stencil again and we are going to create a circle And then we will use our color pencil to do the cross hatching. So we will start by the part that is going to be the darkest area. So we will start by creating some lines that kind of follow the shape of our sphere, and we will make the lines where it's darker value, we'll make the lines closer together, and as we go towards the lighter side, we will spread the lines more apart. So we will do that, and then we will create lines that are going the opposite way. So we are going to cross hatch them. I then quickly wrote down that you can curve the lines. The next thing we're going to be working on is going to be layering. So we are going to start by writing down the title, and then we are going to write right under it that layering is going to be the process of building up layers of colors for a more interesting use of that color. We will start by grabbing a color pencil, whatever color you want, and putting down some color on the paper. And then we will grab a different color and kind of go across from it just to see how they layer on top of each other. So there will be a part of it where the two colors combine. You can go over it again and again, however many times you want to play with it. We will then grab the same colors and start with a circle. So we'll start with the darker part of it in the middle, and then goes lighter and lighter as the circle spreads. And then we'll go over it with the other color as well, doing the same exact process. The next thing we're going to do is just layer the two colors on top of each other nicely. And then we will grab our white pencil and kind of blend in half of it just to see the difference between the two different options. So we are going to use the white to blend the two colors together, and it's going to give us a different color again. We're then going to do the exact same process minus the white. So layer down the first color and then grab our second one and layer it on top. Once we're done with this process, we are going to grab a colorless blender pencil. So this pencil is not going to have any sort of color to add to this gradient. And we will do the same process as we did for the white one. So as you can see right now, we are going to grab our colorless pencil and just go over about half of the color swatch. And you will see that the colors actually blend together a little bit darker than when we blended it with the white, but the surface is going to appear smooth and nice. So once I'm done with that, I'm just going to quickly write at the bottom that you can basically layer the colors with white or a colorless blender pencil to mix it in to create a more smooth surface. And the last technique we're going to explore is going to be burnishing. So I am going to start by writing down my title. So burnishing will be layering and layering until you cannot see the paper underneath anymore. By layering and layering, you will keep your pencil very light. Your surface will not be able to take any more layers once the paper is burnished and once the pencil is burnished, and it will look very, very smooth. We will then grab our color pencil and start very light and keep adding layers and layers over it until it looks very smooth and nice, and it looks like the paper cannot take any more color, so we should not be able to see the paper underneath anymore. It is going to look very similar to what we did when we pushed very heavily, but it is going to look a lot smoother. So with burnishing, you can also layer colors. So we are going to start with our green again, and then we are going to layer yellow on top of it until it is burnished. So we are going to keep our pencil very light and keep going over and over and over, creating layers on top of each other. And the last thing we're going to do is creating a gradient scale. So we're going to start always light with our pencil, and then we are going to build it up by layering on top of each other. So we are going to add more and more layers towards the end to create that darker value. And then we are going to go over it with our purple pencil, which is going to be the complementary color of yellow, to kind of create that scale and that darker value. So we are still going to keep our pencil very, very light, and we are going to keep applying layers. Burnishing and layering are going to be the techniques that we use the most throughout our future project. But all of the other techniques are also very important to learn and to keep in mind once you're using color pencils.